Yo, what's up, guys? Hasan here, getting out another stream. I mean, we're gonna be talking Bernie Sanders. We're gonna be talking socialism. I think really the topic that I need to focus on today is how really collectivism is the answer for America. We really need to be taxing the rich. You know, the schism between the elites in this country and poverty in this country. You know, it just keeps getting greater. So we gotta really tax those elites.
Hey Hasan, sorry for interrupting, but we got your paycheck right here. Here you go. Thank you very much.
This says 175,000. It's supposed to be 200.
Well, you said you wanted to tax the rich, right?
No, I want my 25,000. So.
Okay, well, we'll work on that.
Anyways, guys, back to what I was saying. You know, subscribe if you want to hear more from me. It is $5 a month. Drop that down below. Also, talk about how socialism's the greatest thing. Put that down in the chat. Maybe I'll give you a follow.
Scene.
And scene. Oh, it's, you know what? Every time we do these skits, they're getting too real, guys. They're getting too real. And this one obviously is very much on the nose because a young man by the name of Hasan Piker, you may know him as a very famous Twitch streamer who advocates for socialism and his collectivist movement and taxing the rich. His income has now been exposed on Twitter. I'll show you the tweet here. This is from Caleb Hull. Twitch just had a massive hack that revealed the revenue of creators. Popular socialist and political commentator Hasan Piker is making over $200,000 a month. $200,000 a month, this man.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
I mean, capitalism is just the worst thing ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, socialism is definitely the system that we need to change to in America, because then I can not make $200,000 per month.
Yeah, it's so funny how so many of these people who, we saw it with Nicole too, who also does streaming and does TikTok and all this fun stuff. She's an avid socialist herself, but lives in a $2 million+ apartment that she did a little tour for on YouTube. And same thing goes for Hasan here. Advocates for socialism, taxing the rich. Let's show you a little picture of what Hasan likes to wear. Make the rich pay.
Where have I seen this before?
Where have I seen this before?
Oh yeah, it was at the Met Gala.
Yes.
Where someone else that is a prominent socialist, wore a tax the rich dress.
Yeah, you know that $30,000 ticket to get into the Met Gala, albeit for charity. But it's only a small sum of his monthly income, so don't worry. Don't worry, not even a quarter of his monthly income.
It's almost like these anti-establishment elites are the elites. I mean, it's almost like they are the establishment, and don't believe a thing that they're saying.
Yeah, it's almost like that. And it's almost like once you get a little taste of richness and luxury and elitism in America, you don't want to give that up, yet you'll still go and advocate for the very structures, the very economic practices that break that down. But guess what? He's only advocating that for you. It's not going to affect him because he's a millionaire. He's making $2+ million annually, yet advocating for socialism. And guess what? When the socialist reins do come down, when you are getting kicked in the balls by the military boot, as I say, Hasan's not going to be going through that because Hasan has the money to not go through that.
Yeah, and we watched a couple minutes of his stream a minute ago because he's like trending big on Twitter right now. Everyone is justly calling out this hypocrisy. And he was saying like, well, there are other creators who make a lot more money than me and they all have bit deals with businesses and brands. And look, I'm creating all this great content and people are, my subscriber count is publicly available. Everyone can see it. He's using all these rationalizations. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you really believe in the redistribution, there are other creators on Twitch who work just as hard as you, who don't get that many subscribers and who don't get that much revenue. So shouldn't you redistribute some of your wealth or the wealth you've gotten to those other creators? Shouldn't you redistribute some of your channels, popularity to the other creators who are working just as hard? Their labor is just as valuable as yours under socialism, is it not?
Yeah, Hasan. Taylor and I are streaming right now. We're streamers. We're not making the $200,000 a month that you're making. Why don't you skim a little bit? Why don't you skim $100,000 off the top and send it over to us? I mean, that's what your policy advocates for.
Yeah, your $2.75 million mansion's not too far away from us. It's only like a half-hour drive. So, I mean, we'd be down to take a couple rooms in the mansion and
right.
swim in your swimming pool, work out in your gym.
Exactly. And you can go and look up his defense of himself. It's on YouTube. The only reason we're not playing it is because he uses quite a bit of profanity throughout the entire stream, which he is known for doing. But again, he brings up other streamers, look at Ludwig, look at Summit. They make just the same amount of money as me, if not more. Look at them, and they're Twitch streamers, and their subscriber counts are there, and all their money is privy to the internet. Anybody can see what income they're making. Why is everybody coming after me? And he fails to acknowledge the fact that he is a massive advocate for socialism. He just goes, I don't understand why I'm trending. Why is everybody attacking me? I don't get it. All I am is just a leftist.
He's capitalisming pretty hard for a socialist.
Yeah, right. You're benefiting pretty hard. I'm going to capitalism even harder, is basically what he said. He's like, I'm going to continue to stream.
I know, you called it like the Matt Walsh whenever he offends people. He was just like doubling down. But it doesn't work when you're doubling down on your own hypocrisy. That just makes it all the more evident how hypocritical you are.
Acknowledge it, Hasan. Acknowledge the fact that you advocate for socialism while not practicing it in your own life. And you know what? If you did acknowledge it, then I would go, hey, at least he understands capitalism works.
Yeah, at least. And I don't understand how so many people still follow him and still support the politicians and people who advocate for these policies while clearly not living out the same thing, living out their beliefs in their lives. But I don't know. Like it's the whole I can spit on you and tell you it's raining, and here we are.
Thank you for the weather update.
Thanks for the weather update. Exactly.
No, it's true. They get to advocate for their utopia because still, it just sounds so beautiful, doesn't it? I want everybody to have everything paid for, and everything's going to be great, and all the wealth is going to be redistributed. And so long as I'm functioning under capitalism, I'll say that. I'll wait till the socialism actually comes around the corner, and I'll see. We'll check in with Hasan again when that happens. But I have a feeling he won't be as strong of an advocate as he is now. Now, moving on. People like Hasan can go and say that and make money off of it, and that's great. You know, whatever. That's how capitalism works. I'm glad you found your niche, Hasan. Good for you. Now we're going to move on to somebody who's getting canceled in a sense. Her name is Sage Steele. And here's the headline out of Yahoo News. Sage Steele removed from ESPN following comments on Obama vaccine. Former colleague Jamil Hill calls her out. Now, let's give you an update here. A lot of people are saying that Sage Steele has been fired. She has not been fired. She's just been temporarily removed from ESPN regarding some comments that she made, not only in reference to the COVID-19 vaccine, which they're not comments in reference to the vaccine. They're comments in reference to mandates. I want to really hone that in because this article is painting her as some sort of conspiracy theorist extremist. And when we get to her comments, you will find that they are not that extreme at all. But first, she made comments about a former president by the name of Barack Obama. She said, if they make you choose a race, what are you going to put? Well, both. Barack Obama chose black and he's biracial. Congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I think that's fascinating considering his black dad is nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But okay, you do you. I'm going to do me. Listen, I'm pretty sure my white mom was there when I was born and my white family loves me as much as my black family.
Put that bigot in jail right now.
Woo!
Oh my gosh. I have my opinion about racial matters and you can have yours. What kind of bigoted nonsense is that?
That is ridiculous.
Fire her immediately.
Yep. Remove her. I don't even want to hear what she has to say about football, basketball, anything of the sort, because her opinions on race shroud that for me. They set me afire. It's amazing. All she did was point out an objective truth. Obama identifies as black. I identify as biracial. We are both biracial. Oh my gosh, the scandal.
And then she didn't even make any comment. She didn't cast any aspersions on him for doing so either. No. She just kind of was like, that's an interesting point, is it not? That's his choice. He chooses to do that. And we tend to look at him as black because of that. And okay, whatever. But it's an interesting observation that is totally valid to make. And yet ESPN has deemed that to be, I forget how they framed it, but somehow not up to their standards of how their employees are supposed to communicate about these matters.
Yeah.
I'm very confused.
Right. And I think where things got contentious is the fact that she mentioned that his father wasn't there. Oh my gosh, how crazy is it to say that? So Jamil Hill came after her on Twitter specifically and said, so on top of thinking that former President Obama shouldn't identify as black because he didn't have a relationship with his father.
Which is not what she said, by the way.
No. All she said was he identifies as black, even though his black father was not there to raise him. That's all she said. And that's an objective truth.
She never said he shouldn't identify as black, which is, so
right.
she's mischaracterizing her comments already, which is what these people do.
Exactly. And they try to spin it. And now they're calling her a sexist for saying that when women wear scandalous outfits in journalism, they should know what they're getting into when they wear it. It amazes me that you can be a woman, and this is a black woman. We're canceling black women now. So let's acknowledge that for a moment, because we've been staying away from that territory for a while because apparently black women are untouchable. But not Sage Steele, because she said something that goes against the mainstream narrative. Now she's getting called a Stacey Dash. She's getting called Candace Owens. She's getting called Uncle Tom for simply pointing out objective truths. How amazing is that?
Well, when the truth is offensive, when the truth flies in the face of mainstream acceptable narrative, then you must be silenced and quenched. What amazes me is the willingness of her former co-workers, but even the people who are in charge at ESPN who are enforcing this, who are saying the objective facts that you're saying, the open opinions that you're stating that are completely valid and not bigoted at all. These are unacceptable, and you must be silenced and quenched. And the mob should come after you, according to Jamil Hill.
Right.
And they're even putting words in her mouth and giving a very dishonest and uncharitable representation of her views.
Yes.
Which, shocker.
Yeah, this article goes on to call Sage Steele a conspiracy theorist. Now, let's deep dive into that. This is in regard to the COVID-19 vaccine. What did Sage Steele say that points to conspiracy? Let's hear. I work for a company that mandates it, and I had until September 30th to get it done or I'm out, Sage Steele told Cutler. She has been with ESPN since 2007. Here's what she says, quote, I respect everyone's decision. I really do. But to mandate it is sick, and it's scary to me in any ways. I'm not surprised it got to this point, especially with Disney. I mean, a global company like that.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. You advocated for choice and decision making when it comes to medical treatment and mandates. Straight to jail.
You respect everyone else's choices and opinions, but you want to make your own. Straight to jail.
You want to choose your own racial identity and be objectively true about what that is, and then talk about when other people aren't. Straight to jail.
Wow.
Clown world. We live in a clown world, and I do urge you to go and read this article. We should read articles from all sides of the aisle. This is out of Yahoo News. Again, the title of it is Sage Steele removed from ESPN following comments on Obama vaccine. Former colleague Jamil Hill calls her out. Check out this article and read the whole thing. Read how it characterizes her. And of course, they put the quotes in there, and the quotes are completely innocuous. So poor Sage Steele. I feel bad for this woman. She doesn't deserve what is happening to her right now. And hopefully people hear about this and they get red pilled because of it. I don't hear Black Lives Matter going up in arms about a black woman being removed from her job.
Yeah, the only thing I wish were different about Sage Steele's actions is that she apologized for the comments, and I wish she would have doubled down because it was a very vague apology. She said, I know my recent comments created controversy for the company, and I apologize. We're in the midst of extremely challenging times that impacts all of us, and it's more critical than ever that we communicate constructively and thoughtfully. But I thought she was quite thoughtful in her remarks in the first place and was not denigrating anyone else or casting aspersions on anyone else. So I don't think she was not communicating constructively. And then the ESPN's, I don't know who the leader is, Michael McCarthy or whatever, said, at ESPN, we embrace different points of view. Dialogue and discussion makes this place great. That said, we expect those points of view to be expressed respectfully in a manner consistent with our values and in line with our internal policies. So in other words, we embrace many points of view as long as they are consistent with our internal policies and our values.
Right.
Which is kind of the opposite of respecting different points of view.
Yeah, it is exactly the opposite of saying we embrace different points of view.
You're free to say anything that we approve of.
Right. You are allowed to say whatever you want, so long as you have asked me first and I agree with it.
Pretty much. But that's where we're going as a society is you're allowed to express any opinion as long as big tech is approved of it. You're allowed to share any information on social media as long as big tech's fact checkers are okay with it. Right. You're allowed to participate in society as long as you do all of the medical choices that society or that the powers that be demand that you do. Yeah. Which probably leads us to our next story.
Yes, it does lead us to our next story. And this was a tough one for us to grapple with, considering where we are right now. If you guys don't know, we are streaming out of Los Angeles. And some breaking news has happened today. Here's the article. This is out of KTLA.com. LA to require COVID vaccination proof for indoor restaurants, gyms, malls in nation's strictest vaccine mandate. This is coming out of the gate. It's officially going to go into effect beginning on November 4th. So under the ordinance, patrons age 12 and older will have to show proof of full vaccination at indoor areas, including restaurants, bars, gyms, movie theaters, convention centers, card rooms, museums, malls, play areas, spas, salons, and indoor city facilities beginning November 4th. I hope they didn't leave anything out, just in case you were wondering whether or not you could go to a card room without being vaccinated.
What even is a card room?
I'm not sure.
I know it's a place you frequent. I picture I don't know, back room of a
picture like a poker,
bar, where people are playing poker. And
I'm picturing Goodfellas.
Gambling.
That's what I'm picturing.
That's the one I'm most disappointed about personally.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what I'm just disappointed in general. And we're going to get into some of the comments here. No one is forcing anybody to get vaccinated, says LA City Council President Nuri Martinez, as he said last week. But if you don't, there are certain things you will simply not be able to do without showing proof of vaccination. So
you'll become a second-class citizen,
right?
If you don't comply with the mandate. But
I'm not forcing you.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't come to your door with a needle and shove it in your arm against your will. I'm simply saying you don't get to function as an American citizen anymore without this vaccination. So I'm not forcing you. So don't be scared, guys. It's going to be okay. And here's another article that you should read in reference to this, whether you're a California citizen or not. This one is out of Deadline.com, which goes over the vaccine mandates as well. LA officials vote to require proof of vaccination. We wanted to sort of take a deep dive and get into some of the quotes that are said by our officials in this article, because they are asinine. And I won't even say they'll blow your mind at this point, but there's just so much to talk about in relation to this mandate move. Here's a quote from O'Farrell. COVID-19 could be eradicated if we had mass vaccinations across the country and across the world, O'Farrell said before, noting the United States' history of eradicating smallpox and mostly eradicating polio through vaccinations.
Yeah, we talked about this before the stream.
We did.
This is probably the most unbelievable part for me, because this is one of the city council members who is expressing the reason why I am supporting this mandate is because this mandate is the measure that we need to take in order to eradicate it. Now, this is misinformation.
Yep.
You cannot eradicate this through vaccination any more than you can eradicate influenza.
Right.
And the disease he compares them to are not respiratory viruses that have animal reservoirs and such, as does COVID-19. And so the entire basis of the mandate, according to the people who are voting on the mandates, he's saying my rationale for imposing this mandate on 20 million people in LA County, or however many are in LA City, I think this is a city level mandate, is to eradicate COVID-19, which if you look at any of the even mainstream science around this, that is misinformation.
Yeah, they know that they're lying, but you can hide totalitarianism under the guise of doing it for the greater good and doing it for people's health and wellness, and that's what he's trying to do. COVID-19 could be eradicated if we mass vaccinate the entire country. No. That's false.
Not to mention,
you are lying.
Yeah, look at Israel, by the way. Look at Vermont, who has the highest vaccination rate in the country. Cases have been spiking there. So the idea of full eradication is, and they even openly now, the science around the vaccines is what they're saying is this is to reduce the severe symptoms so that you're not hospitalized or that you have a terrible time with it. So the idea of eradicating it by vaccination is not, it's completely asinine, but yet this is the rationale for doing this. It's that, again, this is I'm spitting on you and telling you it's raining and expecting you to thank me for the weather update. And the other part of this that bothers me is, and we need to say this for the record, like whatever your thoughts are on the vaccine itself, that
Perfectly fine.
if you make your own choice,
Yes.
that's what we're advocating for. This is about freedom. And my freedom is not your bargaining chip.
No.
You don't have, that's where it's the first principle of the matter of like, you do not get to hold my freedom hostage until I meet your demands. That's the definition of tyranny. And it's not yours to take or hold over me. My ability to go to a restaurant is not yours to hold over me, as like my right to go participate in society is not your bargaining chip.
Yep.
And that is the essence of the tyranny that they're exerting over us right now.
Yeah, and if you're in LA right now or in California in general, or anywhere in the United States, this should not be allowed to stand. This is your rallying cry. This is not allowed. This is not okay. It is not okay to mandate that anybody get any sort of medical treatment that you deem to be necessary for them. Now, let's read some more quotes here. Why on earth is it okay in 2021 to have 30 plus people die in the county of Los Angeles from COVID over a 3-day period, including an 11-year-old girl, when we have a vaccine that could have prevented all of that, accessible to everyone? First of all, more in misinformation. And we had Dave Rubin on this show to talk about how many people were actually dying in LA. You can go and check out that video that we did. And his last reference was 2 in a week, 2. So again, a really great way to recognize propaganda is through emotional, anecdotal pleas. And this is exactly what he's done, including an 11-year-old girl. When we had this vaccine, we should be able to force it. And again, Taylor and I were talking about this before. How many people in LA have died of drug overdoses on the street, just lying there dead in the street, which is something that LA City has made permissible for you to just do drugs on the street. How many people have died from being shot here in California and in LA in general? A lot. And as I said on the stream earlier, either this week or last week, I got off the phone with a police officer that I'm friends with who patrols in South Central Los Angeles. And they are so overwhelmed right now with the amount of murders happening in Los Angeles that they don't know what to do. He has time for nothing else. But we're more focused on people getting a mandatory vaccination for a virus that they have a 99.9% chance of recovering from.
Yeah, and here's another, along the same lines, here's another stat that more children in Chicago have been shot in the last year than have died of COVID-19 nationwide.
But
that's
yeah.
New York Post.
But we should use this story of an 11-year-old girl, a tragic story, to mandate your freedom, to get to tell you what you get to do. Which, by the way,
aren't children under 12 not even approved to get the vaccine by the CDC right now?
Exactly. But her death would have been,
this is pretzel logic.
It would have been avoided if we all got vaccinated. We killed her, right? Isn't that's a lot? We killed the grandmothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did it. Now, let's read some more again and listen to how they justify it. It's very, very tactful. The language is very, very tactful. And you have to be tactful when you're trying to convince an entire population of people to give up their liberties, or those who are vaccinated to advocate for the liberties of other people being taken. This is not a vaccine mandate. We're not going to deny anybody the ability to access essentials, food, medicine, etc., regardless of vaccination. But what is immoral is choosing not to get vaccinated, choosing to listen to some delusional rant on Twitter. Okay, so many things encased in this. Again, a cover-up for what they're doing, because they're saying we're not going to allow you the opportunity to get essentials like food and medicine. Who could ever do that? But you're barbaric and you're immoral for choosing not to get vaccinated. Again, you're killing grandmothers. You're responsible for this. And then he says choosing to listen to some delusional rant on Twitter. Again, an effort to label people who have done research into medicine and are trying to advocate for their own health, as we all should be, calling them delusional and saying that you get your information from Twitter.
Yes. And what was the thing that it said right before that?
What is immoral is choosing not to get vaccinated.
Yes. How wild of a... But that is how they circumvent the actual argument, which is, hey, let's have a rational assessment of the risk that this presents to the population, and then rationally look at the evidence behind what different measures that we can take to mitigate the negative outcomes associated with this virus, and the different measures we can take to slow the spread or whatever. Let's have rational discussions and look at the evidence around this. No, if you don't get this vaccine, you're evil.
Yep.
That's how simplistic the logic has become. And this is sadly not just limited. This is the crazy thing is that the people of Los Angeles and California in general approve of this and think like this and vote for this. And that is the part where it's like, you know, we've had this discussion many times. Like if you're going to vote for people who take away your freedom over and over again, like eventually, you deserve that.
Yep. And you know what? You advocate. I mean, look at Australia. You advocate. You put those people in power. You put them in office, and now that's what they're doing. And there are still people in Australia while these horrific lockdowns are happening, while people are getting beat, maced, choked in the streets. There are still people in Australia advocating for it.
Yeah, Alex and our team, Alex Jimenez, said something really funny on Slack today. I hope he doesn't mind that I'm repeating it on his name. But he said, at what point are we just morons for sticking around here? I feel like one of the dumb East Berliners watching the razor wire get laid out and not deciding to hop over before the fences go up.
Yep.
But it really does start to feel like that.
It feels exactly like that. And it's, again, the conversation that we had with Dave Rubin. Go and check it out. It's just at some point, you are living somewhere that is not advocating for you and is not doing anything for you, and you are giving them the money so that they can continue to do that. And at some point you have to see yourself out. And this is, I don't, this is a straw for me.
This is between the, I don't know how much we can say.
Right.
There have been a couple of gut punches in recent months. You can piece together what we're referring to. But,
yes.
This is the latest, and you know, it's tough.
It is tough. And, you know, we'll see what happens from here on out. But Los Angeles is not looking great. And this is happening in a month's time. So November 4th, let's see how things go. I'm curious to see how many people, vaccinated or unvaccinated, choose to go along with these mandates, choose to bow down to the government. And I'm very interested to see how many people are actually going to fight this.
My faith in the citizens of Los Angeles is unfortunately very low.
Right.
To stand up to this, but that doesn't mean those of us who do not want to lose our freedom should go down quietly.
Right.
So we won't.
There's been some rallies thus far. Will and I have been going to them. I think there's going to be more up the bend. And if there's not, I will be extremely surprised, but we will be there. So we'll see you guys there. Next is a story about, you know, we talk about this a lot. One of the dying arts of our nation is comedy. And a comedian who's under fire for the 100th billionth time. I don't know how many times this man has been under fire. You know him. You love him. His name is Dave Chappelle. Here's the article out of Fox News. Dave Chappelle's latest Netflix special, panned by liberal critics, terribly angry and disappointed. Let's see what Chappelle had to say. Comedian Dave Chappelle's latest Netflix special is again receiving mixed to negative reviews from liberal critics who might not come as a surprise to him. Given the tone of the set. Dropped on Tuesday, Chappelle's show in Detroit called The Closer, his final special in his 6-set Netflix deal, delved heavily into criticism he's gotten from the LGBTQ community and others that the comedian punches down and is even transphobic, in addition to addressing racism, COVID-19, parenting, and his attitude towards women. Now, there have been people writing that he's gone too far, he's gotten too close to the edge of being offensive to people, and he's been accused of homophobia and transphobia. He fumed at how Chappelle closed the set with a vow to stop doing LGBTQ jokes, and also called on your community to stop punching down on his. Chappelle said in the set he was not indifferent to the suffering of others.
Yeah, this is what if you look at the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes versus the critics score, let me see here. It's 38% tomato meter for the critics. In other words, they only give it a 38% approval rating, 62% hate it. The audience score is 99% positive. So, and that's with over 7,000 ratings as of this screenshot I'm looking at. What these elites do not understand is that punching at them is punching up. You control, with your ideology, it is institutionalized in Hollywood, in the mainstream media, in academia, everywhere. You are the elites. You are the people to punch up at. And the ideology that you impose on everybody about intersectionality, the trans stuff, all that is what should be made fun of and poked holes of. And it resonates with people, the common people who have to put up with your BS all the time and aren't allowed to speak their minds or laugh at jokes that are funny if they're not PC.
Right.
People are sick and tired of it. So when someone like Dave Chappelle goes on and does some politically incorrect humor, guess what? 99% of them, the common people, think it's funny. The only people who don't think it's funny is the elites who don't like holes being poked in the narrative that they're trying to control everyone's minds with.
And it shows you the power they possess, because the mainstream media is going to report on this, of course. You know, you're going to hear from Yahoo and CNN and MSNBC and ABC, and they're all going to say how horrible Dave Chappelle's show is, while the general public doesn't believe that at all. But they get to control the narrative. They get to control what gets put out about this. If the general public was putting out a critique on Dave Chappelle, I'm sure they would say it was great at a 97% approval rate. But because elites get to control the narrative, they get to control what information you get, you're going to hear nothing but horrible things about this. Now, what they wrote here, and I think this is very funny. Chappelle's anti-trans jokes have often boiled down to human anatomy, which shows how unnuanced his view is on the subject. So basically, Chappelle's trans jokes boil down to the science of human anatomy, which shows how unnuanced he is.
Yeah, he's saying basic common sense and scientific fact contradict your mainstream ideology about gender theory and such. And isn't that funny? Haha, let's make a joke about it. And this guy's saying those jokes are triggering and inappropriate and mean.
Yeah, because they offend me, you should get a bad rating.
On this Daily Wire article here, just to get a sense of like some of the jokes that he did tell, it says Chappelle says plainly that gender is fact during the stand-up special, and defends Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who's taken heat for refusing to comply with progressive gender theory. I think she's a TERF, in other words, somebody who says that men cannot be women.
How evil! How crazy is that? How horrible it is that Dave Chappelle will not indulge in your delusions of being able to tell me that I can be a man and Taylor that he can be a woman. How disgraceful and unnuanced is your take on human anatomy if that's what you believe. So ridiculous. And you know, I defend Dave Chappelle particularly because he is a comedian, but anybody should be able to say that. And to come after a man whose job is to make people laugh, and comedy is often done, not even at the expense of others, but just for everybody to make fun of each other and to play on stereotypes and to put their views in a way that is funny and enjoyable for other people. It is the last frontier of free speech. And all is fair in love and war and comedy. Honestly, all is fair in love and war and comedy. And to come after a man who makes jokes at his own expense oftentimes and has built his career doing so, and again, a black man, which I thought we weren't doing that anymore. I thought we weren't tearing down black people. I thought that was against the leftist ideology to do that. But no, it does. As long as they don't go along with your narrative, you can tear down whoever you want.
Yeah, and like, why is it funny when to make fun of the idea that men can be women and women can be men?
Right.
Why? Like we laugh at that and like instinctually because it resonates as true. And the role of comedians in society is to kind of be the canary in the coal mine to call out those the asymmetries in culture and the contradictions and the hypocrisy of the ruling class. That's what comedians do. All the way back to medieval times, as jester in the court, you're kind of allowed to make fun of the king a little bit. But why? Because it provides a little bit of levity. It draws out our shared humanity when you can all just like laugh at things that are just funny and true and the contradictory sort of things in life. And the comedians are experts at calling those out in a very comedic way. And that's a very important thing that we have in society. So when you have thought police who are saying comedians are no longer allowed to take the air, it's like in a movie, you need comic relief to like take the air out of the tension. Comedians do that, but for like the society at large. And whenever you muzzle them and no longer let them call out political correctness or make fun of the way you're imposing an ideology on everybody and how many holes it has in it, there's no way to take the air out of the tension in our country, and it's just going to lead to further polarization.
And I think they know that. I think they know that. Obviously, maybe the average person doesn't think it through that far, but the elites know that, and they know that comedy is provides relief for people. I mean, go back and look at, if you're offended by what Dave Chappelle has to say, go back and look at old videos of Norm Macdonald and his sets and what he used to say live on television to the American people. And people loved him, and they continue to love him because he says what is true, and it doesn't have to be politically correct. And that's the whole point. Comedians look at the world and they recognize the stereotypes and the patterns, and then they communicate that to us in a way that we didn't think of and that is hilarious. And we love it. And it's at everybody's expense. It's not just at trans people or LGBTQ people. It's me. It's Taylor. It's everybody.
I'm old enough to remember growing up with like Jay Leno on TV and even Letterman. And I think Letterman's more of a liberal guy, and Leno was a little bit maybe right of center. But either way, you couldn't tell really, because they would poke fun at whoever was president. They would poke fun at everything. Right. And it was like a unifying thing for all of America to tune in to late night television. It was funny. Now on late night, that is universally, all those guys are raging lefty. Like, did you see Colbert's like vaccine dance the other day?
Yes.
It was like the most cringeworthy thing ever.
It was horrible.
It's not even funny anymore. It's just, hey, we're all on one side. If you're on our side, we're going to pat ourselves on the back and take cheap shots at the other side who's not here, represented here to defend themselves or offer any contradictory opinion. And ha ha ha, woe is me. And I sent you guys this article today, but Not the Bee reporting the season premiere of Woke SNL was the lowest rated single episode in the show's 47-year history.
Surprise.
Shocker.
Wow, shocker. Because SNL used to be amazing, and it used to go after people on both sides of the aisle, and it used to do it in a way that was funny and great because they appreciated the people that they were impersonating. And I forget what comedian has that quote, is you can't do a good impression of somebody unless you appreciate and respect them. And that's not a thing anymore. And that's why SNL sucks because they impersonate people that they truly hate, and they're truly just trying to do it in a way that's not meant to make people laugh. It's just meant to propagandize and paint a caricature of somebody. It is not done with respect. It's not done with appreciation. And that's what comedy is losing right now. It's going by the wayside.
Comedy is dead except for the cold open skits of Will and Amala live.
Exactly.
We're keeping it on life
We
support
are the bastion of comedic relief in America.
Someone's got to do it.
Hire us, SNL. We'll fix your problem. Somebody's got to do it.
As Will Witt likes to say. Now we have a couple more stories today. This next one is going to be quite a shocker here. This is out of dailymail.co. Sports should create universal categories because transgender women do have an advantage over female athletes, says Major Review. Surprise, surprise. This may be a surprise to some of you, although I doubt it. But there's been a massive campaign on the left to say that transgender women have, the same qualifiers and the same standards as regular biological women. And they've been told that when they've gone through hormone replacement therapy and sex reassignment surgery, that now you're functionally a woman. There's no real biological difference. Even the testosterone levels among transgender women and biological women are normal now. Well, it turns out not true. Transgender athletes have an unfair advantage in female sports, and a new universal category should be introduced for them, a Major Review suggested. The report from the Sports Council Equality Group concluded that trans women have an advantage in some sports, even when testosterone levels have been reduced to protect female sports while also ensuring transgender participation. The report suggested that new universal or open categories are introduced for trans athletes. This is just utterly shocking news. I cannot believe.
It's just painstaking to even have to explain.
It's like so many people commented on our show the other day because the title was "Can Men Be Women?" and they're like, "I'm not going to watch this for an hour because it's a simple one-word answer." No,
right.
But it's amazing that headlines these days have to be obvious facts.
Yeah.
And somehow that is groundbreaking when a study reveals something that we knew all along with common sense, but somehow forgot in the last 5 years because we've become stupid.
Yeah. And let's delve in. Let's get into the science a little bit. Let's talk about it. And let's use the example of Laurel Hubbard. You guys know the trans female weightlifter that joined the female team in the Olympics. So let's assume See, Laurel Hubbard started transitioning, I believe, around the age of 35. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe around the age of 35. So functionally was a 35-year-old grown man before transitioning to become a woman and then participating in the Olympics. Now, let's assume that Laurel Hubbard has gone through the hormone blockers, the hormone replacement therapy, and has undergone sexual reassignment. And Laurel Hubbard goes and gets blood work, and her testosterone and estrogen levels look just like that of a biological female on the Olympic team. Did Laurel Hubbard grow up with the bone density of a 35-year-old man her entire life? Absolutely. Does she still have the body structure and the density of a 35-year-old man? Absolutely. So why would we not think that there would still be biological differences between female athletes and trans athletes?
I think that's the critical question. Why would you think otherwise? But
yeah,
it's because you're ideologically possessed and you must bend reality to fit your predetermined beliefs instead of looking at reality and making rules about who can compete and who can't compete based on biological facts. And this is just, it's unfair to women, and it robs women of their opportunity to compete with one another in a fair way. And you're robbing them of their achievements. There are plenty of other weightlifters from New Zealand and from all over the world who have spent their entire lives trying to build, practicing their sport and getting stronger than getting as strong as they possibly can, and to compete against other women. And then you just allow someone with an asymmetrical biological advantage to come in and compete against them. And why? Because of ideology.
Yes, exactly. And you guys can go and look up this study as well. I always try to give you the references, what you can look at. Again, this is out of Daily Mail. Now, this is a long-awaited study. The long-awaited document reviews the latest research and is based on interviews with 300 people and 175 organizations taking place over 18 months. Now, long-term evidence indicates that males have numerous, not just bone density, numerous physical advantages in sports compared with females, and this is recognized in law. Current research indicates that testosterone suppression does not negate this physical advantage over females and cannot guarantee competitive fairness. The documents released today add the guidance provides content and a framework on which sports can make a decision and set out some of the options a sport might consider, from prioritizing transgender inclusion or protecting the female category, and to additionally introducing universal admission. So yeah, believe it or not, just changing the testosterone levels in a biologically male body does not make them a woman. I don't know how people thought that it did. I don't know what we need to do to prove that. Maybe we have to start suppressing Taylor's testosterone and put us through a sports competition to truly prove it right in front of your eyes.
I'm not a big fan of this idea.
No, neither
is my wife. Hot Scott can do it.
Yeah, Scott will do it. Scott will do it. Scott will be the true test. But yeah, so just ridiculous. This is amazing.
And look, the flip side of this is there's a reason why female to male trans people can't compete against biological males. It's the same reason. They get juiced up on all the testosterone hormones, and yet their
Still
lack of bone
enough.
structure, bone density, the leverage points on their body and their frame are different. And it's amazing that just you do biological fact is biological fact. It's no matter, injecting yourself with some hormones doesn't change it. It's kind of crazy.
Right. You learn this from a very young age. Estrogen decreases your bone density. That's why people with really high estrogen levels are privy to things like osteoporosis. It's particularly an issue for women who are very, very active, as it boosts your estrogen. So to think that men can just supplement hormones and then just be the same strength as women and function in the same capacity is just ridiculous. But that's how well propaganda is disseminated into our news and what we read and our social media. That's how ingenious people are at tricking others. Amazing. I don't like it.
I was about to make a soy boy joke, but then I withheld myself. Will's not here to defend himself, so it's just
Will
not fair.
is not here to defend him. Oh, you're about to call Will a soy boy?
I mean, In a manner of speaking.
In a manner of speaking. Now, let's get into our final story of the day. And this one's spooky. Ooh, it is October, ladies and gentlemen. So we had to do a little spooky story. This one's out of New York Post. The title is Zodiac Killer Identified, Linked to Sixth Murder. Cold Case Squad Claims. Now, I don't know if you guys are true crime fans. If you are, drop it down below. Taylor, are you a true crime fan?
I feel bad, like the whole true crime thing. It's like I'm fascinated by true crime.
Yes.
It is fascinating. I don't like to say I'm like a fan because
because it's horrible things.
It's stories of people getting murdered, brutally murdered.
Right.
And that's a terrible thing. And so I always try to like inwardly when I'm watching this stuff, be like, okay, I'm fascinated by the process of figuring out crimes, and understanding the psychology of criminals and all this type of stuff. But I'm not like a fan of watching stuff about people dying.
Yeah, you're not like, I want people to get murdered so that I have more true crime stuff to talk about.
I always feel weird about that.
No.
Like, are you true crime fans? Like, yes, I love it. I watch tons of these documentaries and stuff, but I'm like, I don't know. I feel weird about just saying like, I love watching people die.
You know, there's this new show on Hulu. It's called Only Murders in the Building. And it's about like these people who are so fascinated with true crime podcasts that when a murder actually happens in their hotel, they're like freaking out because they want to make a podcast out of it. See, that's how I view it. It's like, that's not good.
Yeah, you gotta draw a line somewhere.
That's not good. Well, I'm just acknowledging these things happened and they're horrible, but I'm very, very interested in watching how you solve crimes.
And mystery itself. There's something about mystery just in general, like mystery novels. There's something in like human nature that just, you want to be able to get to the bottom of things and investigate clues and find the truth and expose the killer and all that type of stuff. And so,
there's something satisfying about, finding out how something happened, why it happened, and who did it. And that's why people love true crime.
Jordan Peterson would say it's making the unknown known and drawing order out of chaos.
Wow.
It goes to our basest levels of instinct.
Without God, there is chaos. You've met a formidable foe, and he must be quelled. Anyways, so this article out of New York Post, let's get into it. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the Zodiac Killer. He's responsible for a number of murders that happened in California, in Northern California, particularly in the 1960s. And the Zodiac Killer became really infamous for sending notes to the police departments, sort of leaving clues and cryptic messages, trying to get caught, some might say, or just trying to mislead police officers. Now let's get into the article. A cold case task force claims that it has identified the notorious Zodiac Killer who terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s and taunted authorities with cryptic notes. Investigators with the Case Breakers told Fox that the group, led by former FBI agents and retired law enforcement officials, has identified the infamous killer as a one Gary Francis Post, who died in 2018.
Dun, dun.
It sucks that he died already before
justice could be served against this vicious killer criminal. Yes.
Right. And then he's already dead. Let's see. So they also tied the infamous serial killer to a sixth murder in Southern California. So this is Gary Francis here. Now, apparently what they did was, through years of digging, they found some new forensic evidence in the case, including photos from Post's dark room that show scars on his forehead that match the scars on the sketch of the Zodiac Killer. So this is Gary. He's a scary looking dude. And this is the Zodiac Killer. And everybody's looking at the little marks in his forehead at the top, which were scars indicated by people who witnessed him and people who saw him. And Gary Post has got them same things going on now.
Okay. I think that's kind of
non-substantial.
But the next one was the one that I was like, okay, that's pretty convincing.
Deciphering letters sent by the Zodiac also revealed Post as the killer, who had claimed to have slaughtered as many as 37 people. In one note, the letters of Post's full name were removed to reveal an alternate message, a Case Breaker investigator told Fox News. So you got to know Gary's full name in order to decipher these anagrams. Former Army counterintelligence agent Jen Buchholz said, "I just don't think there's any other way anyone would have figured it out." The team also believes Post killed Sherry Joy Bates on Halloween in 1966, some 400 miles away from San Francisco, and 2 years before the first slaying was linked to the Zodiac Killer. So essentially, when they found Gary Post's name and they used it to decipher the Zodiac Killer's notes, they were able to decipher the cryptic messages that he was sending to police officers.
I forgot we had that thing programmed.
Oh, we should have used that at the very beginning.
I know.
That's awesome.
No, that part is crazy to me.
That is.
They plugged his name into one of the Zodiac letters, and that revealed, like, I mean, I would like to know what the message said, though.
Right,
like,
right.
How does it say like some random bunch of letters or words that you can't really string together, or is it like straight up like here's another coherent message that you can only decipher using this guy's name?
Right. I have a feeling they didn't release this because they're probably working on a book or a movie of some sort that they don't want to release the information prematurely.
Darn capitalists.
Right. Those darn capitalists. Hasan will have something to say about that. Now they also have other evidence here. A wristwatch with paint splatter was found that was thought to have been worn by the killer and was recovered at the scene of Bates' murder. This is young Bates here, who was unfortunately murdered in 1966. And Post himself was a house painter for more than 4 decades, according to the Cold Case Squad.
Okay, I mean, that's again like kind of circumstantial. Kind of like it's a little bit of a stretch. Now, if they could like do a deep dive analysis on the paint and match it to some paint that he used at the time or something like that, then it'd be like, oh snap. But I think this is also kind of weak.
Also, there's a lot of weak evidence.
All of them threaded together,
yes.
You start to get the like, okay,
exactly.
Maybe we found him.
We're moving threads here. Here's another one. In addition, a heel print from the military-style boot at the murder scene matched his and others found at the Zodiac crime scenes, says Fox News reporter.
Okay, I mean, does the size match? Does the impression exactly match?
Okay,
I want to know all the
exactly match.
Nitty-gritty details.
You know how they found Richard Ramirez? You know Richard Ramirez?
Yeah, I saw that one.
From the shoe.
The LA guy, right?
From the shoe, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was only one shoe that made that way. So shoe prints can be very telling, but I don't know how telling in this case. Obviously, they didn't go into detail with this. Now, what was also interesting, I'm trying to scroll and find it. Maybe it's not in this article, but a neighbor who lives next door to Gary Post, when she found out about him being suspected of being the Zodiac Killer, was like, oh, absolutely. I could definitely see that being the case.
I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Should we do a true crime podcast on what we should research everything ourselves and read a bunch of art and prepare it and then be like, give our
crime junkies.
Do we think it was the real killer?
Yeah, you guys comment down below if you would ever want to see us do, some supplemental podcasting. When I tell you, I could do it. I could do it. I consume this stuff like crazy just because it's so fascinating. But yeah, that's our update. I think they seemingly think that they found the Zodiac Killer. We will probably never, ever know for sure, considering he's dead. He's been dead for 3 years.
Yeah, tragic.
Yeah, now unless they go through his house.
Not tragic that he's dead, but tragic that you can't interview him or serve justice.
Right.
They
should.
And that he lived in freedom, right, until he died.
Yes.
Apparently, right?
Yeah. A completely free man. This one.
Someone who murdered 37 people and never going to jail for it.
Yeah, he's just waltzing around. But what is equally horrible is if this man didn't do it and now they're calling him the Zodiac Killer. So
yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Have you seen the show Mindhunter, by the way?
Yes, I have.
Oh my gosh. Of course I have. That is David Fincher is like the director / producer of it, who made Fight Club, and it's my favorite. Yeah, you guys. Series. It's on Netflix.
If you're interested in true crime, it's fictional, but it does have lots of truth to it, and they go and investigate. This was when, in the 70s, I believe, when the FBI really became privy to the fact that serial killers even existed. And they got 2 FBI agents to actually, this is true story, to actually identify serial killers, go and talk to them in jail, and then get a psychological profile of them so they could start to figure out what it took, what were the prerequisites to being a serial killer. Yeah, so it's interesting.
And the actor in it, Jonathan Groff or whatever.
Jonathan Groff.
Groff was he's in Glee, which whatever. I never watched that, but he was in Hamilton. He was the king King George.
You'll be back.
I love that. I sing it and my wife she's like, no, you're gonna get stuck in my head.
I love Hamilton. Yeah, Jonathan Groff is very, very talented. He's in that. But they go through Ed Kemper and Ted Bundy and just all these.
The acting is so good. All the serial killers that they go and interview. Charles Manson.
Yep.
The performances are just insane. Sorry, we're just talking.
Don't
waste your time on this new Squid Game trendy stuff.
No, watch Mindhunter and then go and look up the real serial killers. The actors perfectly emulate the actual serial killers. If you look up interviews of Ed Kemper and his whole ordeal, what a scary guy. Very scary, smart guy. What Taylor? What's going on?
Groff is in Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop.
I guess are they remaking that on Broadway or?
It is on Broadway, yeah.
Wow.
With the trans actress playing Audrey.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of did like a little entertainment segment here at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We didn't feel like eating spicy sauce and punishing ourselves. It's no fun when Will's not here too.
No.
He has the worst reactions to
Yeah,
it,
because
so.
Taylor and I tolerate the hot sauce so well that it's just like you guys really don't have much to look at. That first time, not at all. I did not.
That was the best because we were so unprepared for it.
We were
the whole room, we were like, oh my God, what have we done? If you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it.
Yeah, go watch our first episode of Hot Takes. I was crying, really. And so was Will. After Will said that men shouldn't cry in public, Will was crying. So shout out to Will. Also, Will right now is on tour. I don't know which campus he's at today. Let me take a look. But he's suspecting there might be a little bit of trouble at this campus that he's at tonight. He's in Missouri. Yeah, Kansas City, University of Missouri.
So it's the same place where Michael Knowles got sprayed with a squirt gun with some unknown substance. And apparently people are saying there will be craziness at his event tonight.
Yep.
So we will keep y'all posted. He'll also be joining us tomorrow for a segment to go over a hit piece that someone wrote at Ole Miss, I think, or somewhere in Mississippi. They went down the rabbit hole, watched a bunch of Will Witt videos, and decided that he was dumb and a bigot. And so we're going to look at that and go over it with him. Should be fun.
Yeah, and hopefully he's untouched at this event coming up, and he's perfectly intact, no black eyes, no bruises.
And he's an alpha male; he'll be fine. Right?
Oh yeah, totally.
He's not a soy boy at all,
and he sure as hell doesn't cry in public.
Yeah, unless he's on this show.
Unless he's on this show in public.
Real quick, super chat from Steve Demonen. Mm-hmm. We are an inclusive free speech zone, provided the opinions you espouse are approved by us, or else.
Yep.
Hopefully he's not saying that about us on the podcast.
No.
I did have to temp ban a troller today.
A troller? What was the troller saying?
I don't know. He was just being annoying to everyone on the chat. Look, for the record, we say this. Disagreement is welcome, but spamming and being just a straight up troll and being abusive or whatever in comments is not. Now we have a higher tolerance for quote unquote what is defined as abusive than your gender studies professor.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day,
or the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really our show for today. Let me know if you guys want more cultural stuff like that Zodiac Killer story, because we can go into that. Drop that down in the comments below. What do you guys want to see us cover on stream? Because a lot of it, of course, is political and breaking news. Do you want to see more cultural content? Do you want to see us react to things like somebody thinking they found the Zodiac Killer? You let us know. Drop that down below. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single day when we go live, 2:30 PST, 5:30 Eastern. If you'd like to listen rather than watch, you can go to Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Leave us a 5-star review there so that we know you love the show. Everybody else knows that you love the show. And hopefully we can build a bigger community, because that is what we're all about. We want to get this information out to the masses. If you guys would like a text to know when we go live, text live 241776. That is live 241776. And we will be back tomorrow with some hot breaking stories. We have plenty to talk about. Will be on the show tomorrow for a segment as well, so you'll get to check in with him. I know you guys miss him. So we'll see you tomorrow, 2:30 PST, 5:30 Eastern. Bye, guys.
Peace.